This is a cold, windy April the 16th as I film this. Back in 1912, imagine this, on April the 16th, a resident of Coggeshall by the name of Mrs. Sheldrake sees a newspaper in her house, a headline about a tragedy that occurred on the night of the 14th to the 15th of April. And she realises that somebody she knew, somebody that she had entertained in her house, was involved in that tragedy. And that person was a Roman Catholic priest, and his name was Father Thomas Biles. The Roman Catholic Church in Coggeshall this one here has only had this building here since 1928. 1928 this was opened. Prior to that, they used to have to meet have masses in people's houses. The lady, Mrs. Sheldrake, so it says on the museum website, her house was opened for such masses once a month. And I'll tell you this story, but one of the people that took the mass, in fact the last person to take the mass that's mentioned, was Father Thomas Biles. Here's the story. Thomas Roussel Davids Biles was born on the 26th of February 1870. He died on the 15th of April 1912. Father Thomas Biles was born to a Protestant minister in Leeds, England, but converted to the Catholic faith while studying theology at Oxford University. He was born Roussel Biles. Father Biles was ordained in Rome in 1902 and took the name Thomas. 10 years later, Biles' younger brother, William, asked him to travel to New York to officiate at his wedding, leading the young priest to book a ticket on the Titanic's ill-fated maiden voyage. Father Biles boarded the Titanic as a second-class passenger in Southampton on April the 10th and enjoyed a quiet time on board before the ship struck an iceberg near midnight on April the 14th, 1912. Father Biles made his way to the ship's steerage when the ship was struck, where numerous third-class passengers were attempting to navigate the ship's labyrinth of stairwells, but often found themselves trapped behind locked doors. The English priest calmly led dozens of third-class passengers, including many Irish passengers, to the top deck, where they were able to access the limited supply of lifeboats. One survivor said, "When the crash came, we were thrown from our berths, slightly dressed. We prepared to find out what had happened. we saw before us coming down the passageway with his hand uplifted Father Biles. We knew him because he had visited us several times on board and celebrated Mass for us that very morning. "Be calm, my good people," he said. And then he went about the steerage giving absolution and blessings. A few around us became very excited, and then it was the priest again, raising his hand, and instantly they were calm once more. The passengers were immediately impressed by the absolute self-control of this priest. He began the recitation of the Rosary. The prayers of all, regardless of creed, were mingled in all the responses. Holy Mary were loud and strong. Miss Helen Mary Mockler, a third-class Titanic passenger, gives another testimony about the priest. "When all the excitement became fearful, all the Catholics on board desired the assistance of priests with the greatest fervour. Both priests aroused those condemned to die to say acts of contrition and prepare themselves to meet the face of God. They led the Rosary and others answered. The sound of the recitation irritated a few passengers, and some ridiculed those who prayed and started a ring dance around them. 2 priests were engaged continuously giving general absolution to those who were about to die. Those entering the lifeboats were consoled with moving words. Some women refused to be separated from their husbands, preferring to die with them. Finally, when no more women were near, some men were allowed into the boats, and this is when the priests were offered places, and they declined." Ellen Mary Mockler said that Father Biles was offered the chance to escape the ship but refused a place on one of the last lifeboats so that he could stay and pray with passengers who had been left behind. Father Biles could have been saved, but he would not leave. "After I got in the boat, which was the last one to leave, and we were slowly going further away from the ship, I could hear distinctly the voice of the priest and the responses to his prayers. As the ship began to sink in earnest, Father Biles said the Rosary and prayed for the souls of those about to perish. He also administered last rites to many passengers who had been unable to secure passage on the lifeboats." He doesn't have a grave, but I'm sure he would have a memorial somewhere. Thank you for sticking with me this far. If you enjoyed the video, as always, give it a thumbs up, and I will see you in another video. Stay safe.